Welcome to the Coach V Show here on Island City, where the beach meets the streets. And thank you for joining in as we feature a brother from down in the South Pacific, Kristin Harper. Kristin Harper co.nz. You can find him on there. That's his website, and also connect with him on LinkedIn and also on Facebook. You're going to love this story about he has had to figure some things out through his trials, his failures. He has created quite a coaching business, and now taking what he does in terms of personal development and helping people within the Pasifika realm and Pasifika people really level up and become the best versions of themselves. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Coach V Show. Enjoy it, and happy Mana Motivation Monday and Thanksgiving from your boys, Coach V, and everyone here at Island City.
Whenever it's cold outside and you need a little heat, at the game or in a plane it's comfortable on your feet. When it's time for a nap, it's a pillow for your sleep. Get your comfy blanket now. Get your comfy blanket now.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life. Offering for your consideration through some of my insights and definitely our featured guests, the success frameworks of behavioral models and life lessons that, should you find value in them, that you subscribe and deploy all over your life, leadership, and business. Here on the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron, together we rise, powered by the Island City Media Group, where the beach meets the streets. Today, I am so honored and lucky to have from way across the ocean is Brother Kristin Harper, who is born in CHCH in New Zealand, Aotearoa, and is of Maori descent, and Ngai Tahu being his wife, his iwi tribe. Like a lot of Kiwis, grew up around sport, playing rugby league and touch rugby, and went to Papanui High School, but only to eat lunch and play sport. Left school at 15 with no formal qualifications, proud father of two amazing boys and a beautiful partner. His Ngai Tahu heritage and Maori values play an important part of who he is and what he does. Kristin has had over 20 years in sales, starting on knocking on doors and selling door-to-door in business and securing multi-million-dollar contracts. Kristin's coaching business is helping Maori and Pasifika to grow their business. Harper Co sales coaching is a Maori and Pasifika business specialist. Mana Collab, Kristin founded the Mana Collab to be a conduit for change by bringing together Maori and Pasifika leaders globally. Through inspiring interviews with Maori and Pasifika, they are leading by example to create a mindset of success and self-belief by leveraging the collective knowledge, expertise, and mana from our leaders. His approach to life, creating a life with his family that is fun, full of experiences, and doing what they love without having to worry about money. Being the best father to his boys so they can grow up into leaders. Welcome to the Coach V Show, your boy all the way from down in the South Pacific, Kristin Harper. Kristin, thank you for coming on the show, brother.
Kia ora, brother. Maloa lei. And firstly, Coach V, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and join you this morning. And I didn't make it easy for you with my with my profile and throwing a wee bit of Māori in there as well. So
no, it's good. That'll give me, because I mean I could say Spanish, Filipino, Japanese words right here in the States. I need to get better at my Maori and my Pasifika dialects for sure. Kristin, tell us about your genesis point. Where did you start? And give us the history and the roots of your heritage and history, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Well, firstly, I'll start off with the whakatauki and my pepeha, and then I'll just explain a wee bit about what that means. So,
yes, sir, please.
Katangi te titi, katangi te kaka, katangi hoki kia hau, ti hei Māori ora. Ko Kristin Harper toko ingoa, ko auraki toko maunga, ko waimakariri toko awa, ko takitimu toko waka, ko Ngai Tahu toko iwi. The whakatauki is, I'm of Maori heritage here in New Zealand, and a whakatauki, when you come into a meeting, is all about bringing everybody in. So it's a way to sort of set the scene, and that whakatauhi refers to the blessed gift of life. And after listening to yourself and talking with you, Viliame, what we have is we do have a very blessed life. And as Coach V said, from Christchurch in New Zealand, I really should have put Christchurch rather than CH. So my background is, I think for anybody, because I know with Island City Media and what you're doing over there in the States, Viliame, I think outside of the States and outside of the islands, New Zealand has the largest population of Pasifika, I believe, outside of the islands. And also Māori, I guess the people of the land. And as you said, growing up, my background's always been, playing footy, with the boys, growing up with the boys. And in the early years, I actually ran away from home when I was about 15. Apparently I was a wee bit stubborn with my old man. And yeah, that was a real learning experience. I thought it'd be, when I ran away, I thought I'd be gone for a day. I was gone for 6 months. And, I grew up a lot over that time. And one thing about me is I've always been connected into my Māori side. And, when after I run away and I come back home, I think a lot of people thought, I was going to end up in prison and all those sort of things. And I was always like, stuff you. I just wanted to prove everybody wrong. And that's always been sort of my mantra is if somebody tells me I can't do it, then, I go ahead and do it. But so I lived in, brought up in Christchurch, lived in Sydney, Australia for about 4 years, and then went through to Southeast Asia, lived over in London, went into a wee bit of Europe. And then after I moved back home, early 2000, I ended up getting into a sales role. And I ended up getting into the print industry. And that's really where I've learned a lot about myself and where sort of, I guess, my success has sort of, come from. As Coach V said, started out, knocking on doors in one of the most competitive industries. But then as I just, stuck with it, become pretty sort of successful with that. And then we had, the Christchurch earthquakes in 2011, which was we had about 187 people, pass away through the earthquakes. And that gave me basically a bit of a nudge to move up to Auckland. And that's when I started my first business. Had a couple of failures within business, and then over the last couple of years, I've just sort of stuck with it. And one thing that I've always been really passionate about is seeing more Māori, seeing more Pasifika succeed. Because I don't know, outside of the States, in New Zealand, we have this thing that's called the tall poppy syndrome. When somebody does well, people tend to want to cut you down. And, as I've got a wee bit older, I'm like, stuff that, I just want to, there's a lot of Māori Pasifika that are doing really cool things here, but people don't really want to put themselves out there with just that fear of being judged and people sort of cutting them down. So, yeah, I've created a sales coaching business working directly with Māori Pasifika and helping them extract their value from them and to help them articulate and sell their value to the world, to basically help them make more money and be successful. And then the Manako Lab is all around, getting insights and listening to leaders globally, like Coach V, and I'm so honored to, talk with you today, because I've been sort of following you for a wee while, to, just inspire people to make those sort of steps up. Couple of boys, got a beautiful partner, and since becoming a dad, I've got a 18-month-old and a 5-year-old, and becoming a dad's been the best thing for me. So pretty honored, pretty lucky, and started the business a few months ago, and we're already starting on a second arm of the business. And so the momentum and things are starting to grow very quickly, which is very cool.
That's
so
awesome.
a bit of a long-winded one. Sorry, Coach V.
No, that's good. That's good. Love to hear your history. And all of the things it is in your journey. That's awesome that you shared that. Talk about the insights and the commonalities that you find with people being in London. I mean, going from the South Pacific to London to Southeast Asia. What are some of the commonalities that you find within business, the business world, or anything or insights that is of value you'd like to share?
Look, it's really funny. We talk as recently. I've been heading up a software business for the last couple of years, and we've been talking a lot about the differences, especially between Australia and New Zealand, and how people do business. And I'll sort of share it sort of probably more globally shortly. But what we find is because New Zealand's such a small sort of market, everybody knows everybody. You know, you're a few degrees away from somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and all the markets are becoming more competitive here, but there's still the same amount of business, because in New Zealand we've got about 5 million people. With regards to business, there's only a sort of a big size of the market, so things tend to get more and more competitive. Whereas if you go to Australia, you go to the likes of London, or you travel, the markets are so much bigger, it's not as competitive. And doing business in New Zealand, we're talking about this with our Australian counterparts a wee while ago, is that it's hyper-personalization here. It's really, really relationship driven. Yeah, I know in some places people, you know, relationships don't matter. Relationships are everything, I think, regardless of what country you're in. You know, even when I was over in London, it's the same thing there. You know, getting into businesses over in London is super difficult because there's gatekeepers everywhere. It's I think at the end of the day, we're all people. We still value those relationships. In my opinion, it's what you get conditioned to based on where you are. I believe your self-worth, because your belief of yourself is going to help you sort of cut through and open some of those doors and get through some of those sort of hard times. And you know, when I first started out knocking on doors and I was selling, I've always been super confident, but geez, I'd go into some of these meetings and I'd be freaking out. Whereas now, man, I'd be happy to sit in a boardroom anywhere in the road and hold anywhere in the world and hold my own. So I think that having that confidence in yourself to basically get out there and you know, back yourself in whatever you do. There will be nuances, you know, globally, but I think it's just having that self-confidence to be able to know that you can sort of hold that table and be in front of people and basically, you know, either sell your idea or sell your product or whatever it may be. So and even when we're in Southeast Asia, it's quite sort of different over there, because what I find, especially with some in you know, the Southeast Asian cultures and probably in the Asian cultures, that they, you know, when we're talking about sales or selling, they've grown up in that culture of, yeah, everybody's selling all day, every day, because they're in the markets and they're always negotiating. Whereas, you know, back here, we don't generally have that sort of, you know, we're generally not negotiating. So, you know, I find, especially when I was negotiating, you know, in Southeast Asia, like it's tough, man, because you're playing a wee bit of a game, and it's sort of, you know, so it's, yeah, it's sort of, it's a wee bit different. But I think at the end of the day, it's just about holding your own and backing yourself and you know, working those relationships. And then, you know, I think and I'm wanting to learn more about, especially over in the States as well, because yeah, no, I know we're sort of quite different cultures. So
yeah, I love that. So then the Coach V quote will still hold true there, where I always tell people there's money in the transaction, but the wealth is in the relationships.
yeah,
right? That's my number one business quote out there. I love to hear that it's about relationships. And you're right. So many cultures outside of us that are Polynesian, Pasifika people, that, you know, self-promotion is looked at as almost taboo.
yeah,
right? Where it's like, yeah, that's because you work for a company. I have to promote what it is that I do and get it out into the marketplace. But, you know, here in the States, we're unapologetic about, hey, man, I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm inducted into the Hall of Fame. This is the company that I speak to. This is the, you know, it's still a bit tricky about when is it appropriate to speak about money and how much money you make. Because I think those circles, you can't do it in a big grand stage. Those are still private conversations. But I love that you shared that. That's so interesting, where in Southeast Asia, they're always bartering. They're always negotiating. Everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
Right.
Funny you say that. Sorry, just to cut in there. Viliami a couple of years ago, we had created a network, and that was, and it was a Polynesian network. So there's heaps of Maori Pasifika. This was basically when the first COVID hit. So what we did is through COVID is that we'd set up calls every single week,
Right.
because everybody in COVID, it was all new. And the first week we had 20 people, then the next week 40, 60, 80. It just grew and grew, and we had 3 Māori Pasifika leaders that we had every week that were like quite sort of well known. But one of the things that we always talked about was money, our relationship with money, because you're right, we don't talk about money. And I was talking about to a friend about this recently. Even with my money journey, I've always been able to make money. I've just never been able to keep it or keep it that long. Whereas now I have a very good relationship with money, but it took me a long time. And, part of it was coaching. There's a whole lot of other things that come into play there. But you're right, especially within Māori Pasifika, we just don't talk about money because it is seen as one of those things. But, last year I mentored about 30 Māori business owners all individually. And there were 2 themes that come out of that coach fee. And, number one was they didn't want to put their head up because they didn't want to be judged by their peers. And the first thing I said is like, stuff that. Like, you either let your auntie pull you down and you don't do anything, or you put yourself out there, you create more wealth, and then it means that you've got a lot more that you can give and a lot more opportunities that you can create for your whānau or your ainga, your family. And the second one that came up was our relationship with money. And everybody was like, I just want to do enough to make, just to make enough. I wanted to do something for koha, and koha is basically like a charitable. And I'm like, again, I was quite staunch on it. I was like, stuff that. There's nothing wrong with making money, and there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. We've just grown up where we've always had money when I've grown up when I was younger, but we always sort of, had enough money. We always got what we want, but it was one of those. I was telling my son this morning, and he's on his iPad, and I said, back in the day, man, we had 2 channels. That's it. We didn't have anything else. And but that relationship with money is a big one. And we need to talk about that a lot more, because it just stops people from wanting to put themselves out there and do that. And when I first started, making 6 figures when I was selling, I didn't want to tell anybody about my success and, getting awards for being a top rep. Whereas now, man, I'm like, stuff it. I'll put it right out there, because the more that people can see me doing that, and I'm not doing it in a bloody braggy sort of way, it's in an inauthentic way, so there's nothing wrong with it. And then interviewing people like yourself and others that have done well, and people can see that we've all had our struggles, but their struggles actually helped us grow a lot more resilience and sort of keep going. There's, as you said, life is struggle is life. There's always going to be that there, but that makes you the person that you are. So I think that money talk within Pasifika, within Māori, is a really important one. And just it's okay to make a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with that. Gives you more choices. It gives you more opportunities.
Yeah. And for those people who have a problem with making that kind of money, you go ahead and do your thing. We'll be doing our thing over here. We're going to be trying to make that money over here. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did you want to add?
It's been an interesting one. So with my coaching business, working with Māori Pasifika, and then the Mana Collab, the whole purpose of me creating that is not to make money. And it's been really hard for so many people to go, well, how are you going to make money? And I said, it's not to make money, because some of these networks, and it's not only Māori Pasifika, they're set up to make money. And when you put that, if you wanting to help people and you generally want to help people, then the driver's got to be that intent, and it's got to be that value. As a result of doing that, I'm getting opportunities out of that, which will basically turn into money. But I've been very clear that Harper Co, my business, absolutely, it's about scaling and making millions. Mana Collab, this is all around creating value and creating opportunities for other Māori Pasifika. So young Māori Pasifika can learn from these leaders and become leaders themselves. And I've been very clear on that, because a lot of people find that hard to get their heads around. So
yeah, no question. So talk about how, if you take your experiences of growing up, some worldwide travel, failing, because that is definitely part of everybody's success, right? And then getting to a point where you do scale and start to consistently hit a 6-figure coaching business, start building a team. Talk about, with the culmination of those experiences, what your message to the world would be, please, Kristin.
Look, it's really that it can be done. I'm not saying that it's not hard, but it can be done. You know, if I look back to 10 years ago when I first moved up to Auckland, and then I went into a corporate job that I hated, and then I started a business. I had no network, I had money behind me, but then I just tried it out. And I think, you know, one of the things I've always sort of put myself out there. But it's one of those things that, you know, you can do it. You can back yourself, and you can do it, and you can achieve it. We're just so conditioned to seeing all these images and all these things of what we should and shouldn't do. We have, you know, your network, sometimes some of your family, some of the people around you, some of your friends will try and sort of pull you back, and that's important, getting around the right type of people. But mine has always been like if I can do it, man, anybody can do it. If I can do it from my background, if I can do it from, you know, like I said, you know, running away at 15 and being out for 6 months and then doing that, and I look back and I'm like, how the hell did I do that, man? Like, but you know, if I can do it, then others can do it. I think it's just having that self-belief, and that self-belief just comes from just being around the right people and putting yourself out there, and just keep going that one step at a time.
I love that. I love that. And then, so from that, can you share with us what are your current projects, and what are the things that you could forecast that we could be looking forward to, or that you and your team are looking forward to getting done?
Oh man, it's I tell you, for the first time in my life, like, I've already planned out my next 5 to 10 years. I see how big this is going to be. So obviously, as I said, I've just created Harper Co sales coaching for Māori Pasifika businesses. I'll do that, and I'm doing that in New Zealand and Australia. And the aim is to create a global business working with Indigenous businesses globally. So Australia, New Zealand, the States, Canada, you know, creating that globally. So the sales coaching is one part of it. The second arm that we're currently creating is a digital arm. So we will have a team that will be specifically creating sales, marketing, and growing brands for Māori and Pasifika businesses. And then as we start to scale, I'll start to, because at the moment I'm still, as I scale this sort of globally, I'm still working things out as I go. I know where I want to be, but I'm, for the first time, I'm not worried about the detail of how I'm going to get there and all the things that are going to get me to there. But I know that, you know, at the moment there's a couple of my team, but in the next sort of 5 years, I want to get 50 in the team globally, create an advisory that has people working on culture, you know, HR, you know, self-confidence and all those types of things. You know, creating $10 million in revenue. I don't need to make $100 million. I'm not, you know, worried about all of that. And also, as I start to grow the Manukau Lab, is to interview, like I said, people like yourself and people globally that are inspiring others. You know, for me, I'm just a conduit of Manukau Lab. You know, I'm not here to, you know, it's about bringing the best people I can to inspire as many people as I can, and as we spoke about in our first conversation, potentially doing an event for Māori Pasifika in Queensland. You know, like it's got some there's lots of things on the go, and I've sort of mapped things out. So looking forward to the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years, and onwards.
And how much, in terms of my Empowerment to Success program, because everybody talks about leveling up, going to their next level, right, here in the States all the time. And I was just ask people, so what are your replicable steps that replicate success, right? And I find that when they know what that process is, have a design, a calendar of the who, what, where, when, how, and why. Oh my goodness, the momentum and the flow that is created to not just becoming more effective and efficient at the achievement of goals, but again, that it is what it is, process, that they have a process that are replicable steps that replicate success. Have you guys experienced that as well?
So funny you say that. So this week, this is what I'm working on right now, is processes. And so basically, so I can scale myself. So I'm in Queensland, so I'm flying over to Sunshine Coast in the Queensland in about 3 days' time. I'm part of a mastermind, and one of the big things in my mastermind is I need to process everything right now. So I can, one thing I've learned over the last couple of years is that for me to be the best me, I need to have the best processes around me.
That's right.
I can just focus on doing exactly what I do really well and not worry about all the detail and all that other stuff, because in the past, man, I overcomplicate stuff. Even my partner says, she's like, why do you complicate everything? I said, I don't, I try not to, but I'm doing less of that. But the biggest thing I've learned is having a process for everything. And then I'm going to automate all those processes. And those processes are going to give me confidence in delivering to many people, not just not just to a couple of people. So the process is absolutely is one part, and I'm working on that right now. And then secondly, just connecting with the best people I can connect with globally to help sort of get that message out, and that what I do and is not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. I don't want to be everything to everybody, but if I can inspire especially Māori and Pasifika to become a couple of steps better than they were yesterday, then that's all good.
No, I love that. And people just fail to realize that, when we talk about processes, daily habits, daily activities, daily routines, automated tasks, automated tasks, whether it's through IT or technology, or this is what I do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, the flow that's created, processes, protocols, and procedures, and the consistency is just really quite dynamic in terms of leveling up and expediting a person's process, right? Through struggle, through success, finding out best practices, right? I love that. So talk about shout outs. Who would you like to shout out here on the Coach V Show, Kristin, in terms of your partner, family, your kids, anybody that you're working with? What are some shout outs that you like to shout out here on the show?
Firstly to my partner Mel. She hates being the center of attention. She hates having the spotlight on her, but she has allowed me to be me and to go down this journey that we're all going on together right now, and to create the business. Because especially starting a business, I'm coming up to 50 in a couple of years. I know I only look 49.
50?
But
you're 50? You look great, brother.
You look
great.
Yes, I'll be 49. I'll be 49 in a few months. So
nice.
Yeah, so she sort of to basically support me through this journey that we're going on right now. It has been massive, and been the best mother to our two boys. So firstly and foremost, I've got to thank my partner. We're about to go on quite a big journey over the next year. Like, we're actually moving over to we're moving over to Australia next year, and and it's basically all about replicating what we're doing here and doing that over there. So in terms of shout outs, man, I've got a lot of really great people in my network that have always supported me. So but really my big shout outs is to my partner and to my boys.
And her name is Mel?
Yeah, Mel Peter Allen.
Mel Peter Allen. That's awesome, man. And
she'll hate this because she hates being the center of attention.
That's all good, man. That's all good. It's also letting everybody else know in the world, as you're going globally, that you're not available. The market is closed on you.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Never thought about that.
Yeah. And then so welcome everybody to the Coach V Show. Thank you for tuning in. We are featuring Brother Kristin Harper all the way down in the South Pacific. He's going to be transitioning over. So to everybody that is tuning in right now, that's over in Queensland, Brisbane, Gold Coast, holler at your boy. Reach out to Kristin. How can people get a hold of you, Kristin, on your social media platforms? Please let people know.
So social media platforms, we've got Kristin Harper on Facebook. There is Harper Co, so HARPERCO, and that's in what have I got that? And Facebook, got that, and I've got my website, which is harperco.co.nz.
Okay.
And then I'm on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, we've got Kristin Harper. There's a Mana Collab on LinkedIn. There's a Harper Co on LinkedIn. So I play a lot on LinkedIn. I feel like I'm too old to play on the IG and TikTok. I'm happy to play in my space on LinkedIn. So I guess I'm on the older person's social media platforms. But my website is harperco.co.nz.
Say that one time. Is Harper.co.
Harper Co. So HARPERCO.
Yep.
.co.nz.
.nz. So that's just .nz. Yes.
Yeah. .nz.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Z,
so that's
Z.
Harper Co. HARPER .co.nz for anybody.
Yeah.
And then he's also on Facebook and then also on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So you mentioned we're going to put you through the hot seat. We got time for just a couple of questions. Talk about first and foremost, when we're in Christchurch and we've flown in to New Zealand. Hey, when you fly into New Zealand in Auckland, do they still have that big old in the international terminal, that big old image of Lomu on there? Is that still there?
I don't think so. But when you, I don't think so. I was actually been there through there recently. But what they do have is when you come into Auckland Airport, you have a big Maori design.
Oh, that's
when you
tight.
come through. So it's massive, like and it has the Maori sound. So it's very authentic to New Zealand. So when you walk in, and we got stuck over in Australia for about 3 months at the start of this year with the lockdowns.
Yeah.
And when we finally got back home, the first thing was to touch the Maori designs, and it's just like we're home.
Yeah, that's how long it's been since I've been there. I think it's been like 20 years. The last time I was in Auckland was 2022. And I remember walking in there and they had this big old deal of Jonah on there. And I was like, that's what I actually met
John Lomu. We had a cover session with Jonah. Do you know Ruben Wiki?
I've heard of the name, but I don't.
I'll link you into Ruben Wiki. Ruben Wiki is a legend of rugby league here for the New Zealand team.
Yep.
He in the NRL, the Australian Rugby League, he was one of the players of the century. Like he's a legend. And I've had I got to train with Ruben, got to know him really well. But one day we had a session with Ruben Wiki with John Lomu just before he passed away. And we had a cover session for about 3 hours with him. It was just 4 of us. It was amazing. It was really cool. So
that's
awesome. Really humbled to meet him and just be in his presence, man, because he was just like, I was like, man, it's John Lomu, like. Yeah. And I think in terms of in the States, for people that don't know him, who would be an NFL player that would be similar to or have the stature that
Jonah's worldwide, I think, especially in our community here in the States. I mean, when you say like the Tiger Woods of rugby, you know what I mean? That's how we would think of Jonah Lomu from here, from my perspective. Yeah. This is the Michael Jordan of rugby. You know what I mean? The Dr. J of rugby is how we would compare. And if anybody who's listening rolled into Auckland Airport, when we leave the airport here on the Coach V hot seat, here's your question. What is the first restaurant we need to go eat at?
White and Wong's.
Say it again. Spell it.
So hold on. Wait. So WHITE, so White, and Wong's. So and then WONGS.
Okay. And what kind of restaurant is that?
So it's an Asian fusion restaurant that does the best. It does the best food. One of the best Asian restaurants in Auckland, in my opinion.
I love that.
We took some clients there a wee while ago, and it was like a $65 meal, and they just kept bringing all this beautiful food out. And it sits in the harbour in Auckland Viaduct. So for anybody that doesn't know Auckland, that's where they had the America's Cup. So New Zealand won that America's Cup again. Yeah. So I'll just repeat that. New Zealand won America's Cup again.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it sits right on the waterfront, so you got the view of the ocean and all the boats and the ships coming in. So White and Wong's, man, it's beautiful food.
And what's the most amazing thing? So I will shout out New Zealand and the All Blacks. So I was in the LA Sevens this summer. I believe it was in August. and they played Fiji. It was my first ever live sevens match.
Sevens is awesome.
Oh my goodness. And you know, one, come on, Tonga, you guys got to make the freaking sevens here in LA so I could come see you. So they weren't there, but Manu Samoa was there. They were in the quarterfinals, but then I got a chance to see the Kiwis play in the finals against Fiji. And they, when you talk about, because we have world-class athletes all over in our sports here in the States, right? Oh my goodness, world-class athletes. Like those guys, they transition into American footy, they would do just fine. They would fine. So it's just quite amazing. And then lastly, here on the Coach V Show, your last hot seat question is, you know my quote, there's money in the transaction, but the wealth is in the relationships. How important is it? And I always tell people all the time, right, that I say it a little bit more hood because I'm from Pomona. I mean, people don't give a shit what you know until they know how much you care, right? And in terms of what you kept on saying, this realness, this genuine care and concern for people, how important is that in the business environment and conducting business down in the South Pacific?
But I think people, sometimes some people are very short-sighted and they think about what can I get out of this? And I've been in corporate for a long time, and I've had some people that I've been in partnership with that take that approach. And especially down in the South Pacific, when you take that approach with business, that's your reputation. People find out about that. You know, if you conduct yourself in a certain way, then people see through that. I think it's about looking at the bigger picture. You know, when I'm talking to my clients, I want to have you as a client for 5, 10, 20 years. I want to be adding so much value to your business that you want to keep on working with me and dealing with me, and we can make you more money, because if I'm making you more money, I'm making me more money as well. You know, that comes as a result of valuing the relationship, because at the end of the day, again, I think as we mentioned earlier, everything's become so transactional, everything's online and all that, and it's just so easy for people to hide away. But that relationship and that long-term thing is super important, because like if we talk in a sales context, that's where you make your money. You don't make your money in that first deal. You make your money in the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, because you build that trust, you build that value, you build in capability, you build in all those things where, like, we've got you helping us out here. We want you to get you over here and over here, because we've seen how much value you bring to our business. So taking the long, you know, looking at the bigger picture, taking that long-term approach, because people read through your bullshit. People will read right through that.
That's real talk. And you can talk price points, but let's talk value proposition, right? Let's talk value. And then after that, trust leads to loyalty. Loyalty leads to a loyal customer, lifetime brand customer. And then you create relations as well. And you add a lot of food along the way. Oh man, good things. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Kristin. And I'll give you a final opportunity, last 30 seconds. What's your final being on the Coach V Show, and any final thoughts before we stop the show and end the show?
Look, my final thoughts is just, again, just full of gratitude for you, Coach V, and everything that you do. I really appreciate this opportunity to share this time with you today. And, you know, I always said to myself, and earlier with Manukau Lab and Harper Co, that I'm taking this global. And you're my first interview globally, and I'm really humbled by that. And any way that I can contribute to helping you build up what you're doing, saying that here and now, you know, you've got that. I'll do whatever I can to create value within what you're trying to achieve as well. But keep doing what you're doing, brother. Really appreciate the opportunity to share this time with you this morning and this afternoon for yourself.
It's our pleasure, man. And thank you so much for taking the time to be featured here on the show and share your wisdom and that mana with us here in the States and all over the world. And to all those that are listening in, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Coach V Show here, powered by Island City Media Group from Hollywood, California, where the beach meets the streets. And really, for Kristin and I, it is not just for the sake of success that you listen in or we do shows like this, but really for the sake that you be your best. Because in doing so, you realize the best of your abilities, and that everything that you dream, work, and pray for can be achieved. This is how your boy, Kristin Harper, and your boy, Coach V lives. All about faith and family, grateful for God's amazing grace. Until next Mono Motivation Monday, your boy, Kristin Harper, your boy, Coach V, one love, mad respects, live it. Peace.
Ka kiti anō e hoa. Thank you very much. Te wara.